going to call this meeting to order. Mr. Palladino, please call the roll.
Trustee Dattis.
Here.
Trustee Jacko. Trustee Tunis.
Here.
Trustee Velez.
Here.
Trustee Williams.
Here.
Vice President Benefini.
Here.
And President Munoz.
Here.
The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend meetings of this board, except where specifically exempted by law, at which time any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having same advertised in the Belleville Times. Also, notice of this meeting has been mailed to the members of the Board of Education, the Borough Clerk, all elementary schools, the middle school, the high school, Hornblower Early Childhood Center, and posted on the district website. Also, this meeting is being televised via the district's YouTube and Facebook page.
Thank you very much. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes for July 18th?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Excuse me. All right. Do we have a student representative for today? We do not. So we're going to move on to items being represented by the administration. Dr. Tomko.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, everyone watching at home. This is the final days of summer, which, as I get older and more seasoned in the position, the summers seem to get shorter. So I know everyone's excited, but before I do have a few things. But before we get into my stuff, let's go right to our Director of Research and Data, Mr. Rick Acosta, is here this evening, looking as purple as ever, or lavender. Maybe it's a lavender color. He has a presentation for WIDA results, which has to do with English language learners, and he's going to give a brief presentation. So if the board would like to leave the dais and just sit in the front row for a short presentation, that would be beneficial, and we'll be back up in a few minutes. Mr. Acosta.
Can everyone close their screens, please, and put your waters down? We have a new projector today. Very nice.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Rick Acosta. This is going to be a very brief presentation, and essentially it is based on the WIDA Access Assessment, which is given across the state of New Jersey for students who are English language learners, and it measures how proficient they have become in the English language, having come to this country for the first time for the most part. As of July 9, 2019, the criteria for exiting a student from ESL has changed, and now it is required that they get at least a 4.5 on the WIDA assessment. However, other measures also have to be put in place. So if they get a 4.5, they can be exited, but it's at the discretion of the teacher to determine whether the student is ready to exit the program. I wanted to highlight a couple of things before I show the actual test results. One being the WIDA testing window, which was from February 14th through April 8th of this year. The assessment itself, it's 4 sections: reading, writing, speaking, listening. Within those sections, they're rated in 6 different proficiency levels: entering, emerging, developing, expanding, bridging, and reaching. I wanted to show the population change, which is huge. So here in Belleville, I went back to the 18-19 school year, and I have 2 percentages here. Overall, we've had an increase of 76% in our ELL population from 2018-19 through the 21-22 school year. The percent change from 2021 to 2022, overall 25% increase. And our biggest increases have been in kindergarten and first grade at the elementary level, middle school, 7th and 8th grade, as well as 10th and 11th grade at the high school. Now, I want to highlight this slide in particular because the 21-22 school year, out of the 353 total L's we had, 198 were brand new ELL students, which amounts to 56% of our total population, which is a big amount for one school year. Two dates that I picked October 15th, which is the date where a lot of our state reporting takes place. Out of those 198 students, 39% of them came to our district after October 15th. And out of that 39%, we have 70% that came to our district beginning January. And the assessment was in February. So just wanted to highlight that because that's a lot of new students that are expected to learn the English language in a month, which is not realistic. When they come in, the state usually says they should exit the program within 5 years if they're entering as brand new, not knowing any English at all. So it's a 5-year span. So when you look at the scores, don't be alarmed thinking that we're doing terribly. Take into account they're brand new, they don't know English, they're learning English. So within 5 years, these students should exit the program and should be proficient in the English language. So these are just the raw numbers of the assessment. So as you see, most of our students fell within the first 3 levels, which is expected because a lot of them are brand new to the country and did not have the mastery of the English language. And then the percentage-wise, again, we see 33% at level 1, 25% at level 2, 31% at level 3, 9% at level 4, 3% at level 5, 1% at level 6. The presentation is going to be posted on the website, so those of you that want to look at the numbers a little more closely, you can. But I just wanted to, it's a requirement that we present the results of the WIDA assessment at a board meeting, so just wanted to give you guys an idea of what the scores were like, but also give a context of why our scores are the way they are, because we have a lot of brand new English language learners in the district, and that population continues to grow. So that's last slide, just some intervention strategies that we are putting in place based on these results. We're going to be hiring an additional elementary ESL teacher just because those numbers have increased. We're going to be continuing our Summer Bridge Academies. We're going to add more hands-on experiences, both inside and outside the classroom for ELs to build their background knowledge. We're going to continue to implement ESL Parent Advisory Committee and family engagement opportunities, continuing our 15 hours of sheltered instruction, which is required for all new elementary teachers. We're going to continue to provide tutoring for these students and provide professional development for the teachers that are teaching these students in the classroom. And that's it. So thank you guys very much. I appreciate it. Hope you guys have a great rest of your summer. Good job.
Thank you, Mr. Acosta. I appreciate that. Just so everyone's aware, there's a lot of a lot more data than back, maybe a decade ago. And there are a bunch of different buckets where the data lands. A lot of extra work on teachers and specialists and interventionists. We were talking about it a little bit before, and I think unless you're actually in it every day, it's very easy to talk about things to make things better. But I think COVID probably, for parents who saw teaching and saw what teachers did, and some parents who had maybe some things to say about teachers or teaching, I think it really, as we get back to this sense of normalcy, I think it's important to realize that there's a lot of moving parts out there that a lot of lay people, citizens, just don't understand how it works. I want to talk about a few of those tonight. But the WIDA testing is a prime example for a place like Belleville, which this data is what makes Belleville a special place, right? We're inclusive. We worry about everyone, right? We worry about the needs of everyone, including our special needs populations, our ADA compliance, all these things. We were just talking about inclusivity in parks and everything, But I think it's very easy to go out there and look at numbers. It's very easy to look at numbers and not understand what's actually happening in the classrooms, right? What Mr. Acosta, who did a great job up here, was trying to point out to you is when someone comes to Belleville, and it's very, very common, when there's an influx of registrations in January, for whatever reason it is, and the testing windows are February and March, it's very difficult to get a gauge on those students, to see what the needs of all those students are, to put a program together for those students. It's no fault of anyone, and it's no fault of the student that their parent moved here. The problem is that we keep emphasizing numbers. We keep emphasizing this data instead of scrubbing the data and looking at it individually, looking at it pupil by pupil, person by person, classroom by classroom. That's what's important. And I've been saying that now for 7 years that I've been here. I said it at my interview. It's very easy to go, and I'm not disparaging any district, it's very easy to go to an affluent district where they're second, third generation college students, private tutors, small class sizes, and look at some of those numbers and say, hey, we have to be there. Well, when we look at individual kids, just like our own kids, right? Every kid has a different need. Every kid has a different thing that we can possibly give him or her to get to that end result. And that's what I think we do best here. Not everybody agrees with everything we do, but we try. We try to do everything we possibly can. And our teachers and definitely our administrators look at each kid individually, all the way from our special needs students to different populations, to the different programs that we're trying to put together to insulate or to try to cultivate the entire individual, not just math and science, because as we know, because we do it in our own lives, right? We need to have our own climate at home include a very heavy family core, right? A financial core. We put all those things together to make sure that our families are successful. It's the same thing we try to do here. So this is a prime example of how some of these numbers, if they reported these scores in the paper tomorrow, it would be, oh my God, well, they're not doing anything for the English language population, right? Until you scrub the data and you actually see it. So my big thing, and I haven't said it here for a long time, question before comment. That's an important thing for me. It should be an important thing for everyone. So moving forward, it's just proof again that we put a lot of Ms. Shanklin, who's now not in district right now, she's on a leave. One of the things that she was charged with when she joined us 3 years ago was the ELL population and how we could build that program. It's one of her fortes, and we've grown the amount of teachers we have. We are adding more teachers this summer, some of the programs, and just different things. So again, just great stuff continues to happen here. It's been a very quick summer. A lot of things, things with properties, a lot of things with programs. Tonight, on some of the addendum here, which, again, we were trying to hire people up to the last minute, so just to make sure I'm transparent, we have the finality, I guess, for lack of a better term, of the junior ROTC program finally coming to fruition here. Been trying to get that here for about 6 years. That's going to be a big plus for our community, not so much getting students into the military, but all the values that the military brings, the time management piece, the leadership piece, all of those things, just another added program for our students. So there's a lot of great stuff happening here. So a few more things. I want to thank Mr. Henry and Mr. Tapeta, our head of buildings and grounds, and all of the custodial staff, maintenance crew, grounds crew, for once again, and Mr. Palladino for spearheading all this, just doing an incredible job over the summer. As you walked in tonight, maybe you didn't recognize it because of all the stuff happening, but the high school is painted on the outside, right? We have brand new facade. Again, just a lot of work, and I want to give all those men and women their just desserts for everything that they've done, all the time they put in. And as some of you may recall, we kind of went down to a 4-day week, making up the time within the week, so that we can shut down all the plants on Friday, so that we could try to save some money on the energy costs. So they did all of that within a 4-day span. So we're not done. We're still working on a lot of the rooms, a lot of moving. We upgraded a lot of areas. We're building STEM labs. The bathrooms that we pulled out of the referendum project are completed now. There's just a lot of stuff happening, which brings me to some of the projects. We've just closed on what people like to term the King's property, which is in the middle now of the two middle school, the middle school and the middle school annex. So that's been turned over to us, and it looks like the middle school within the next few days will have a closing on that as well, which will then just kind of give us some more space to do some incredible programs in the middle school, because as you know, that's been tight for about 5 years now. And as I've been saying since day one, as we were trying to lease office space, the whole idea was to get offices and everything out of classroom space. And now we're continuing to find the enrollment increasing because of all the great things that are happening here, the movement into town. We do have some developments coming up, which we're sure we're going to have some students out of there, and just kind of this burst of enrollment. So we're working on some of that stuff, which brings me to possible re-registration. The board charged me with that last year. We decided, since we were moving to a new system, that we're going to hold off on that re-registration until about January. I'm going to be working with the township with a few ideas that we have, so stay tuned for that. Again, it's not to target anybody; it's to make sure that the right kids are in the right seats. It's basically what it's about. But again, we've been saying that for several months now, or about a year, and I think now that we're rolling out Power School again and Schoology, which is the new platform for parents, there's going to be a learning curve there. So we didn't want to, we don't want to get people too overwhelmed at this point. Schoology is basically a parent portal system. We're going back to Power School. It's definitely something that will benefit Belleville. We had to move away from it a few years ago because of a data breach that we had that really had nothing to do with Power School, but it was just part of an action plan. Power School since then has basically merged with many of the programs we use. Naviance, some of these things may be familiar to you. So our administrative team and our teacher liaisons have been working over the past few months very tirelessly, some kind of kicking and screaming and probably mad at me because they're getting used to the old system. But this is definitely something for the future of Belleville. So stay tuned. You'll see trainings on Schoology. It's coming out. And again, if you, as a parent, have any questions or any concerns, just throw your hands up. And if we have to send somebody out to your home to help you, we will definitely do that. So we'll have Jeff go. He doesn't do anything anyway. Where is he? So we're very excited about that. So a few other things, and then we'll get to the business of the day. I think it's important that we talk about the indoor training facility that we've been developing. It's almost ready to be open. We had to make sure that we had all the equipment down and everything was proper in there. So that's going to be turned over to us probably within a week or two, and then we're going to again, start scheduling things and whatnot. Ask that everybody be patient. I know everyone wants to use it. We're going to have some hurdles, obviously, because it's new. So again, just, communication is key, right? If there's something we're doing that's wrong or not fitting or something that we need to add, just communicate with us and we'll try to do it. But that's coming up soon. We're very excited about that. Some of the partnerships we have with some sponsorships, et cetera, coming up are really going to help offset some of those costs, as well as the rentals. We're already getting calls daily about renting the facility after our students and our community is done using it. So again, just really hopeful that down the road that's becomes a hub until we can once again work with the township and kind of formulating another community center or a rec center in the middle of town. But again, this is just a satellite piece of that for our training and et cetera. We have many new faces in district this year. What COVID has taught all of the districts is that there was a mass retirement exodus, a mass leaving the profession. I definitely attribute that to COVID and just to people needing a change. But I have to say, I am in awe of some of these people who have left the field and just are doing new things, like just brand new things, because they just feel they need a change. But I think I'm more in awe of them because they actually stuck it out, right? They didn't just leave during COVID. They didn't leave the year that we were kind of dangling with COVID. They left after they completed that year and said, you know what, I need something different. So to those people that have left us this summer, I wish them all the best of luck. To our numerous new faces, it's a rebirth, a renaissance. We're very excited about having everyone there. We have an orientation coming up. And I hope that all of you, community-wide, everyone in your family, join us for the community barbecue. It's open to the entire community, not just people in the school district, on the 24th. We hope that all of you can make it and stop by for a hamburger or I don't know what we're having, whatever we're having. So, but please come by. We have games, bring the kids. You can meet all the new teachers, all the former teachers that were here, or veteran teachers. But again, it's just a celebration of our staff, our kids, all of you in the community. We just want to enjoy ourselves one last time before we kind of go into the 2022-23 school year, which I think is going to really is going to find Belleville shine for all these new programs and things we're doing. We have a few academies laid out coming up, more programs with clubs, more community involvement and engagement. So please stay tuned for a lot of that. So again, many new faces in district. And that has a lot to do also with all of you as parents and stakeholders, making this such a great place to be. And whenever I interview someone at that final round, they always, I'm hearing this, I'm seeing this, it's, it looks great. I see all the parents out and I'm down by the fields and people are starting to take more notice. And we're really starting to see some change here post-COVID. Pre-K Phase 3 building down at Heck is nearing completion, probably the next week or so. We'll be getting a new set of students in there. Just an incredible opportunity for this township to be at 90%, almost 90% preschool universe. One could only hope that there would be an opportunity for more, right? Because the board's job, as we all know, is to get education to all the kids in town. Right? We keep talking about inclusivity. It's everyone, right? We all, and I don't care, I'll argue with anyone about data with regard to preschool programs. You cannot combat the fact that students who have preschool versus students who do not have preschool perform better. And I don't mean on tests, I just mean on communication, different tenets of, early education and things with, even socializing with others. Maybe we didn't see that during COVID because of the distancing and the masks, but as you all know, basically most of that has been lifted today with the executive order being signed. So there's no more testing, et cetera. We're very excited just to start this new year like COVID never existed. But as you do see also on the agenda tonight, there is our updated plan just in case It really hasn't changed much. We're kind of staying status quo, and we're going to revisit it when we start school again, just to see where the numbers are. I'm sure we're going to get these spikes and stuff. I know Hudson County is, starting to mask up a little bit, but we don't have any intention of doing that here. And I just reiterate to all the parents, please make sure your children are staying home when they're sick. Definitely if they have a fever. That's why we have sick days, right? Wash your hands, frequent wellness visits, etc. Some of those things, okay? So we appreciate that. Okay, just a few more things. I know this is my August spiel until we start, so a lot of stuff happening. First thing is the curriculum. Curriculums that are online again tonight. This is an open forum for anyone who has any issues, comments, questions on the comprehensive health and phys ed curriculum, K through 5, 8th grade, older, whatever it is. We gave everyone some time to look at that. We've gotten very minimal feedback sent to me, but that doesn't mean I still can't receive that. If you were here at the open forum, one of the things that we announced, or one of the things that I said, made very clear, and I keep saying, is communication. Okay? If something happens in a classroom, and as a parent or a neighbor, whomever it is, if you don't agree with what was said, if you don't think it was the right thing, if you don't think it was following any type of protocol, please contact me immediately, or your building principal. All right? Immediately. Email, phone call, etc. We need to address that in an immediate fashion, okay? So again, I bring it out to you one more time. We are not running around this in a circle. We are coming at it head on, all right? I think our team, our curriculum team, we did a phenomenal job working with the board committee as well, did an incredible job making this curriculum as antiseptic as possible with regard to some of the new comprehensive health issues that were in there, without negating some of the things that the core curriculum now has coming down from the state. Those things are still relevant. They're still in there. We just address them maybe a little bit differently as what we feel the students in Belleville need. So if you haven't looked at that, there's a link right on the website. You can check them out with all the other curriculums. But again, there was ample time. There's still time tonight. There's still time after. Please, let's keep the communication going. Second thing I have is regarding the transferring of students. All right, we've had more than usual summer requests of parents wanting to move students to other schools, transferring students, putting students in different places than where they are for whatever reason, and they're all legitimate reasons. I'm not disparaging any parent who maybe wants to go for another school because of a pickup issue, daycare issue. My high school child walks home and has to pick up my son. I understand all that. I have 4 children. I've been through this. I totally understand all of that. One of the concerns is that there is absolutely no room to do this. It is not as easy as it looks when you're sitting out there and you're saying, what's the big deal? Just take my kid and move him or her. It's not that easy. We already have 4 sections of grade levels in different schools that are completely closed. That means that there's 30 students in each section of a grade level. That means that any parent now who moves to town can possibly live across the street from school 20, right across the street, can throw a rock at the front door. I now have to bus them across town because we don't have any room, okay? It's not as simple as just saying, oh yeah, just go there. If it was, we would obviously make that accommodation. But this township, since I could remember growing up, has had neighborhood schools, okay? We've always had neighborhood schools here, and that's the feeling, that's the culture, that's the climate, that's the feeling of living in your neighborhood and going to school in your neighborhood, okay? By moving people around just, to do that arbitrarily, if we could do that, would take away that feel. Now, 6, 7, 8 years down the road, there's going to have to be a plan in place for the expansion of this district. And we've been talking about that, and it's something that we're going to have to get ready for. And that's just not Belleville, that's everywhere, okay? So, in saying that, I don't want anyone to think that we get your name or we get a phone call or we don't understand, we don't listen, we absolutely try to do everything we can if there's room or if there's availability, if there's a viable reason. But it's just not possible. And this year, we've had so many requests that it would not be prudent to take one over the other, all right? And that's also why we kind of wait until August to do that. Because the reality is, if only one person needed to change and we could do that, we would accommodate, right? But it can't be as a first come, first served basis. That's not how it works. So I think the reality is that all of you need to understand that even though it looks like it's a well-oiled machine out there and kids are coming in and out of the doors, the rooms are packed. One of the charges that I had when I first came here from the board at the time, no board member sits on the dais here anymore, was we need smaller class sizes. We got to do something about this, you know. Well, we're starting to go the other way again, and that's you know, people are wanting to come here for whatever reason it is, but it's starting to, you know, teachers will tell you, you know, having 30 second graders in a classroom all day is not optimal, but our teachers and our administrators, they make it work, but it's becoming more and more difficult. So I'm just telling you, we still have 2 weeks left. Historically, since I've been here, the end of August has been a big influx of registrations. End of August, beginning of September, and January. Big influx of registrations. So we're ready for that next push. So that's what the registration piece. The final thing that I want to talk about is something that was put out there, social media. You know, again, we all have to be very careful with what we read, right? Especially as we start another election cycle and the rhetoric starts spinning and different things like that. We need to keep, you know, eye on the prize, and the only prize here are our kids, right? The best thing for the kids. So I wanted to talk about something that's been out there, and I got a couple of phone calls and a couple of board members were making sure, and Mr. Palladino and I went over it with regard to all of our facilities, all of our new projects, and environmental issues, okay? Anyone who can just kind of open their eyes and look at New Jersey, the entire state is full of environmental issues, okay? This area right here, Belleville in of itself, Essex County, I don't know if there's any property that doesn't have some kind of environmental concern, flood zone, contamination issue. Yes, when you purchase something that used to be a gas station, there's obviously an environmental awareness that you need to be you know, be aware of, for lack of double speaking. So I think the understanding that you need to realize as parents, as stakeholders, as community members, is that the professionals up here on the dais, along with the board that supports us, we know our jobs. We obviously wouldn't put any students in harm's way. That's what we're here for. Again, I don't think that someone Googling a report is like a eureka moment, like, oh my God, nobody knew this, all right? And that's almost any site that you would buy now or go to. When I first got here, I commanded lead testing in the water, air quality tests before anyone else asked for them, okay? Because I've been doing this for 25 years, all right? And that's what you do before you put kids or teachers in classrooms. Mr. Palladino can tell you we do those air quality tests every year, regardless of what's happening, right? Because you just don't know, right? If there's a mound of soil sitting around on a playground, we test it immediately, all right? We've been doing this a long time. So again, to ask those questions and to remind us is fine, but to think that we would put any student in harm's way is just very egregious that anyone would think that. So just be very careful when you read some of these things, or when you think that some of these things are out there or being put out there for whatever reason. There's no ulterior motives. The motive here is to make Belleville a better place, to make this district a place where kids here can have the same as kids down in Princeton, down in Camden County, and all the way up north. Our kids here deserve the same exact programs, sports, fields, community centers, every other kid has in this state. And that's our job here as a board, is to bring that, or as an administration, is to bring that to the board so they can serve this public. And we would never put anyone in harm's way. So with that, I say look forward to the opening of the school year. progress, and thank you for your time. And Mr. President, I bring it back to you. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your report. We're going to move on to the report by State Monitor, Mr. Egan, and Mr. Palladino will be providing that report.
I do look a little bit like Mr. Egan, don't I? I do. I'm starting to, right? Mr. Egan's watching via, as you all know, he's watching live via the district's YouTube and Facebook page. He wants everybody to know he's looking forward to the start of the new school year in September as this board and previous boards continue to make progress and grow the district for the better. He's reviewed the agenda and supports all the superintendent's recommendations as they pertain to personnel and to finance. And then lastly, he wishes everybody a great end of the summer and get prepared for the new school year.
Thank you very much. So we're going to move on to remarks by citizens. Can I have a motion, open remarks by citizens, please?
Motion. Second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. The Board of Education will call the individuals who wish to speak in the order that they appear on the sign-in roster. The individual called to be heard shall proceed with his or her comments as briefly as the subject permits, with a maximum of 3 minutes at the podium. All inquiries must be directed at the Board President. Mr. Michael Sheldon.
Good evening, everyone. First question deals with 2 agenda items. These concern 7.80, 7.81. As Dr. Tomko mentioned, these have to do with instructors for the junior ROTC. But my question is, one of the instructors is going to be paid almost $110,000, the other just under $100,000. Are they subject to the same STEP program as the rest of our teachers? If so, at what step level are these 2 instructors beginning? If they're not subject to the STEP system, could you explain why? Next question, bill list 085462. Again, Dr. Tomko mentioned that this is the property at 259 Washington Avenue, the King's Window Store, whose former owner is Brajesh Galati, who's also the co-owner of the property constituting the Whiskey Priest and several other real estate projects in Belleville. I noticed on the bills list, you're cutting a check to him for $697,635.46. However, in April, when the board approved the purchase of this property, the listed price was $775,000. Can you explain the difference? And I also like to know from where is this funding coming from? Have you already received your part of the shared services bond ordinance that the town council adopted in April? If not, is this money coming from capital reserve? Could you please explain to me the source of the funding for this purchase at this time? Next item is check C93536. This is the ECIA annual repayment. Is this check for $690,949 the third of the 5? How many, in other words, I asked at the last meeting, never got an answer. How many more payments are due to the ECIA? Check number 085477. It says in the singular, an iMac computer, not computers. I'm assuming that this is multiple computers, because otherwise you're spending $117,000 for a single computer. Could you please clarify that? And in regard to Dr. Tomko's last comment, your athletic facility at Cortlandt Street, I am the person who first sounded the alarm about this. And the reason being is because, unbeknownst to me until 2 weeks ago, and never did any board member, did Dr. Tomko say anything about this, the property is currently listed as an active contamination site by the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. And the reason is because of the presence of TCE and PCE. Now, Dr. Tomko, you said, all of you have looked into this and you're all professionals. Can you explain to the community what the dangers are of TCE and PCE, how those become dangers to people in the vicinity? Because if you don't want to do it now, I'll talk about that during the second phase tonight. So I assume
you could talk about the second phase. You're the one that creates the rhetoric. You just perfectly said it. So let's answer that first. So again, prior to anybody going into that site, there was a phase 1 study done, which is what has to happen. We had our individual environmental people go in there. We had an asbestos removal. We've had air quality tests done. So again, all those things happen. Those are things that happen, as you know, as a former board member, which is really interesting that you have to spew the rhetoric that you did. As part, actually, as head of the buildings and grounds, all those things are common before you even put a lease down, purchase.
No, they're not.
They absolutely
They're
are,
present
because
in
they also, let me
industrial
finish.
centers.
You
They're
asked the question,
present
so
on
let me finish.
industrial sites,
They
which is
also,
what this building
in order to
was.
get DOE approval, all that stuff is done through the county superintendent. All those things are regulated. So again, I think that, your intention now as coming out here seems like it's a fair game thing, but that's not why you put it out there and you sent it out to an undisclosed amount of people, including myself,
on
an
Facebook.
email and put it on Facebook.
Yep.
So I know exactly why you did it, and I'm glad you finally admitted that you did it. But at the same time, when you're dealing with kids and safety, I think that negativity or that false
not
sense of
negativity,
reality,
it's
it
community
absolutely
concern.
is. 100%.
Explain, I'm going to reclaim my time because you took up a good part of
Mr. Sheldon, your time was up before
I
No, I was
understand
answering
my
your
time.
Before Dr. Tomko started speaking, your time was up.
I was answering your question. You always want your questions answered, so now I did that. So let me answer your other questions, because you can come up on the second part to talk about all your levels that you have there. So the two individuals for the ROTC program are both off guide because there's a contract that has to be put together also with the government or the U.S. Army, so they're off guide. There'll also be probably summer hours involved and possibly a stipend. So they are in a pension plan, just like any other individual that's off guide. So there is no step. It's based on basically what they were making prior to with a government contract. Both of them have been obviously in these programs before. It's a brand new program, so we're looking forward to them helping us grow the program, which we've been talking about for a few years now. The second thing that you talked about was, I could let Matt talk about the ECIA piece if you want, Matt. Do you have the ECIA? Yeah, go
I
ahead.
asked about the check for the property on Washington Avenue.
All right, so in no particular order, ECIA, yes, it's the third payment of the 5.
Okay.
The Washington property, that's the final payment. There was a credit with some environmental studies that were done there, so it was a little less than originally planned, and the money's coming from capital reserve, which I believe was in the original resolution when we approved the property. And then the iMac computers, it is computers plural. That's for 2 new STEM labs here at the high school. They need iMacs for those classes.
All right, thank you for answering those questions. I'll have more to say about the Cortlandt Street during the second phase. Thank you.
May I have a motion to close public participation?
Motion. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, moving on to personnel. Can I have a motion on personnel 7-1 to 781?
Motion. Second.
Any discussions?
Yes, Mr. President. For 7.57, I wanted to find out if these people currently already have a job title with our district. Will this salary be in addition to their current salary, or are they changing job titles? Or is this just an employee that's going to focus on Power School? Can you just explain how that's going to be into fruition?
Yeah, through the chair. Yeah, these are our staff members, and there's building sites that they're in charge of through in the actual resolution. They're basically part of a transition team. They're going to assist our teachers in any help they need with the Power School transition moving over. This has been, we've been doing this now for several months. They've all gone through training. So for example, if you're at school 20 and you need assistance with Power School, there's a liaison at your building that's been highly trained. These are additional hours based on contract. So it's not taking the place of anybody's position. It's for every hour they would spend in an advisory role, they get $42 or whatever. I'm sorry, whatever the amount, $25 an hour here or $42 an hour, whatever the The guide has, and it's capped at 50 hours per individual.
Dr. Tomko, so for example, is this after-school hours? That's what I wanted to also, I wanted to know how it worked. So is it after-school hours? So for example, if John Doe is a secretary in a building and the school opens at a high school, for example, 8 a.m. and finishes 2:35, and they're a secretary, but they're assigned to Power School, if they have to handle something for the student or for a teacher because they're the secretary in that building, they stop doing those duties and then do Power School if somebody has a question? Or is it after school hours or before school hours? That's what I wanted some clarity on.
No, it would be on non-instructional time. So it could be during lunch, it could be during a free period or a prep period. It could be after school, before school. I mean, if there is an emergency, which I can't foresee a Power School emergency during the day because there will be active teaching happening. So it would be on there. It's not during their teaching time, no.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
Yes, I had another question. For 7.69, can you clarify if this is a new position, or will this person assist with the HIB liaison to handle HIB cases, or how will this position be implemented in the high school?
This is an existing position. The former dean is now a supervisor, so this is a backfill position.
Yes, but will they work with the liaison for the HIB liaison, or is it not in conjunction with the HIB liaison?
Not directly, but indirectly, yes. This is Dean of Discipline of the high school, so they assist in working with the assistant principals in managing the building, making sure the building's supervised properly, et cetera.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Palladino, please call the roll.
Sure. Trustee Dattis.
Yes.
Trustee Jacko.
Yes.
Trustee Tunis.
Yes.
Trustee Velez.
Yes.
Trustee Williams.
I abstain.
Vice President Benamini, excuse me.
Yes.
And President Munoz.
Yes. Moving on to resolutions, curriculum and instruction. Can I have a motion on 8.1 to 8.2?
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Palladino, please call the roll.
Trustee Dattis.
Yes.
Trustee Jacko.
Yes.
Trustee Tunis.
Yes.
Trustee Velez.
Yes.
Trustee Williams.
Yes.
Vice President Benamini.
Yes.
President Munoz.
Yes. Moving on to resolutions, board action, and board policy. Can I have a motion on 9.1 to 9.24?
Motion.
Second.
Any discussions? Hearing none, Mr. Palladino, please call the roll.
Sure. Trustee Dattis.
Yes to all with the exception of 922.
Trustee Jacko.
Yes to all, and I just want to abstain from 9.1.
I'm sorry, 9.1.
9-1.
Yes, 9.1.
9.1.
Trustee Tunis.
Yes.
Trustee Velez.
Yes.
Trustee Williams.
Yes.
Vice President Benamini.
Yes.
President Munoz.
Yes. Okay. Moving on to purchasing and business services. Can I have a motion on 10.1 and 10.33, please?
Motion.
Second. Second.
Thank you. Do we have any discussions? Hearing no discussions, Mr. Palladino, please call the roll.
Trustee Dattis.
Yes.
Trustee Jacko.
Yes.
Trustee Tunis.
Yes.
Trustee Velez.
Yes.
Trustee Williams.
Yes.
Vice President Benamini.
Yes.
President Munoz.
Yes, thank you. Moving on to finance. Can I have a motion on 11.1 to 11.4, please?
Motion.
Second.
Any discussions? Hearing no discussions, Mr. Palladino, please call the roll.
Trustee Dattis.
Yes.
Trustee Jacko.
Yes.
Trustee Tunis.
Yes.
Trustee Velez.
Yes.
Trustee Williams.
Yes.
Vice President Benamini.
Yes.
President Munoz.
Yes, thank you. This concludes board action. We're moving on to remarks by citizens. Can I have a motion to open to the public?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay. The board president, I will call the individual who wishes to speak in the order that they appear in the sign-in roster. The individual called to be heard shall proceed with his or her comments as briefly as the subject permits, with a maximum of 5 minutes at the podium. All inquiries must be directed at the board president. Mr. Michael Sheldon.
Good evening again. Before I return to the athletic facility matter, let me address a couple other matters. Agenda item 10.15, here you're hiring extra counsel, special counsel to deal with a foreclosure complication associated with 333, 335 Ralph Street, next to school number 9, which is actually going to be adjoining a cannabis cultivation center in the very near future, much to my dismay. But I have to ask, why weren't you guys aware of this matter ahead of time? If you do the lookup, you can see on the township's tax records that there's I believe, a $75,000 lien against one of these properties. And why do you have to hire outside counsel? The Bush Law Firm has, 20-some-odd attorneys? You can't have someone in that firm deal with, should be a rather routine matter. You have to hire. I don't understand why you need an outside attorney. You can answer that later on. I'm glad to see that the dress code is largely being left as is, at least as what I read from the proposed curriculum document. I wish there would be some clarification here, because people are using the words uniform and dress code interchangeably. There is a radical difference there. Years ago, the district had a strict uniform policy, but then in 2018, when I was on the board and chaired the governance committee, that's when we adopted, after having multiple stakeholder meetings, Dr. Tomko largely wrote the code for the dress code, and it seemed to be the right way to go. So I'm hoping that we can kind of strike a balance between all of these competing interests. And by the way, I don't want to upset too many trustees, not that I have so many friends on this board, but while you're dealing with dress codes, maybe consider a dress code for the trustees at meetings. Up until a couple years ago, it was implicitly understood that the dress code for trustees was business casual. Now it seems to be some amalgam between bowling night and barbecue. So you show respect for the job. Jackets and so forth I think would be appropriate. Now, getting back to the Cortlandt Street Athletic Facility, this property remains on the active contamination site, and I've read through many of the DEP documents, as I hope some of you have as well. The reason it's on the active contamination site is because there are unacceptable levels of TCE and PCE. TCE is tetraethylene chloride, and PCE is tetrachloroethylene. This building prior was used for industrial purposes. TCE and PCE are present in solvents and degreasers, which were apparently used in significant amounts in years gone by when this building was used for industrial purposes. I want to read to you, you can find this at numerous health websites online, but just I want to tell you what this actually comes from the Minnesota Department of Health. So it says, because of the potential for development effects, MDH often recommends quick action to reduce or eliminate potential TCE exposures to pregnant women and young children when vapor intrusion is occurring. And that's why this building, this property, remains on the active contamination site, because there's active vapor intrusion underway as we speak. This article then goes on to say, exposures to TCE, PCE may increase the risk of certain types of cancers. TCE, in particular, kidney, possibly non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, liver cancer, PCE, possible bladder, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, multiple myeloma, liver, and leukemia. So there is a legitimate concern here. And yes, Dr. Tomko, I did email you, and you bragged that you always respond to emails, but apparently not mine. I gave you time to respond to the email. You never did, and that's when I went ahead and posted to Facebook. You brag all the time about openness and transparency, but I think that your actions here with regard to this property are not only potentially reckless, but go beyond irresponsible and could down the road subject this board to great legal liability. If it turns out that this site becomes a hotspot, that a lot of the kids participating in this facility down the road start to develop lymphomas and kidney cancers, etc., are you prepared to hold yourself responsible for taking this course of action? The site needs to be fully remediated before kids start playing in it. That's my point. This is not a political, I guess I'm running for the board. I don't care if I win or lose, to be quite honest. That's what I'm telling people. The reason I'm running is because I want to have legal standing to be part of the discussion, because there is a hell of a lot that I plan to say over the next few months, especially about how this board
Your
has
time
been
is
running
up.
the last 2 years.
Thank you for your comment, Mr. Sheldon.
Good night.
To the chair, can I just say something? Yes. I have to be honest with you. There's only really one thing I want to, well, there's two things I want to say. Number one, all the sites that we have either purchased or leased, we've done our due diligence. The King's property also has quote-unquote contamination situations with regard to an old gas station that was there. That is also being remediated as we speak, regardless of what it is. It doesn't matter. It's a board-owned site. I have clearance from the builder. The owner, the owner's environmental team, and our own independent environmental team with regard to occupying the site, or we would never do that. In fact, we are actually now, and Mr. Palladino can confirm this, we are actually doing follow-up testing because they just put down a carpet that had some type of adhesive, so I want to make sure the adhesive's also okay. So again, but now that you, again, bring this further to everyone's attention, obviously, I will once again go back to our team, talk about what you just said in public, and we will make sure that before anybody steps in there, that we are doing triple due diligence to make sure, because we don't want to put anyone in harm's way. That's obviously not what we are doing here. There's no reason to say, hey, let's put all this work into a great facility and have kids in harm's way. It's the most ridiculous thing that anyone could ever say that I would do. And just to be very clear about the communication, and I'm pretty sure that email rhetoric you sent out was not directed towards me. It's one of the blind copies I get from your 100 emails a month with regard to all these conspiracy theories and other things that you send out, including the one you sent out yesterday, which was very interesting. So I don't think this was directly to me. Anytime you want to directly email me, you know my email, you even have my phone number, and then I would definitely respond to that. But I'm pretty sure this was one that was sent out to a bunch of people on a blind copy, but that's all I need to say. The other stuff, the dress code and uniform, you're absolutely right. We used to have a uniform here with a logo on it. That was changed. So yes, the dress code is still in effect. The board is still looking into it. But right now it's a color scheme versus everything else. You don't have to go and buy a logo or any of that stuff. As for the outside counsel piece, yes, when we looked at that property, we knew that there was an issue. We were told the issue would be remediated. The issue is prime real estate for what we wanted to develop down there, which was basically a bus depot, and put some sustainable energy sites down there. It's perfect. So the board trusted us enough to go ahead with it. The estate piece, or whatever you want to call it, it's locked up in the real estate piece there. We've been informed that there's a specialist that is involved in these things, and that's who this attorney is. The board is not incurring any of the costs of that attorney. We just want to make sure that attorney is approved properly so that the board can Mr. Palladino and myself, and the board can communicate with that attorney respectfully. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. We're moving on to Ms. Liz Masaggio.
Pack up some of this air conditioning and send it over to the middle school. Would be nice. Good evening. A couple of questions, couple of comments, and it's cold in here. Okay, my son, sorry. How's that, better? Okay, my son attended last week the 4-day bridge program for the entering 7th graders at the middle school. He was very impressed with it. I was just a little surprised that when he did the elementary program last year, he got like 4 weeks, and this year he gets 4 days. I'm not sure why the program was so short. I think they could have used a little extra, and I was kind of surprised that, especially when I had spoken to you for several months, Dr. Tomko, about the issues with removing Mr. Kearns from School 5 and putting him at the high school where he and the other 6th graders had no instruction in math, science, and social studies for more than 3 months, did not get any instruction over the summer as promised. Okay, I was very thankful that Mr. Lepp, who was kind enough to call me while he was away on vacation camping with his daughters and arranged for 4 private hours of tutoring for my son to make up for the more than 3 months of no instruction that he got when you moved Mr. Kearns to the high school. So he got something as opposed to nothing. But I was surprised that nothing was arranged for the 6th graders of School 5 who lost more than 3 months of instruction time when Mr. Kearns was moved to the high school. Okay, orientations have begun for the parents of the 7th graders going over to the middle school. The building is unbelievably hot. The 3rd floor is, you can't even be up there. 10 minutes and you're ready to faint. That's how bad it is. I know we discussed in one of my other questions to you when you were discussing the upgrading of HVACs, and you were going to do some type of a feasibility study about, since you were upgrading HVACs, I think as part of the referendum, we were going to do a study to see what would be involved in adding an air conditioning component to these HVACs. Can you tell me where you are in that study so we can see maybe where we're going? Another question is, one of my friends whose daughter is going into the high school, is there a date set for high school orientation? Her daughter's going in as a freshman, and she hasn't heard anything about her daughter going in and getting a tour of the high school, learning their way around, and getting anything. And then finally, I'm going to ask again about the situation with busing. Okay, my son will be going to the middle school. I live 1.8 miles from the middle school. I live on the other side of the field with the high-tension wires. 2/3 of my home is physically in the township of Nutley. I wasn't offered the opportunity to send my son to Nutley schools. I pay Belleville taxes. I get a water bill from Nutley, which is a great thing because I didn't have a problem with the water main break because my bill comes from Nutley, and so does my water. Okay, my son has to go through Nutley to come back into Belleville to walk all the way down to get to the middle school. Okay, in order for us to do that, you're talking about a 1.8-mile walk for a 7th grader. Okay, I know you're telling me that it's 2 miles for busing. In order for us to meet the 2 mile, I would have to move the rest of my house into Nutley, in which case we'd qualify for my son to go to Nutley schools. Has there been any other consideration about getting busing for him to be bused to the Belleville Middle School? Nobody else lives over by me. I'm on a dead-end street. All that's over there are the Nutley Garden Apartments. There's not even anybody, there's no crossing guards over there. It's all Nutley property. There's nobody there for him to walk with in the morning or to come home. I can pick him up in the afternoon, but there's nobody even around there. The closest for him to be would be the crossing guard at Union and Greylock. He would have to get all the way over there by himself. That's all I got. Thank you.
Yes, Dr.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Massaggio. Those are some great points you brought up. So let's clarify a few things. We talked about with regard to your son. You brought up a staff member a few times that had to be transferred. Unfortunately, I think those classes were covered, maybe not optimal. We couldn't get a teacher. We tried very hard. I think we had a few conversations about that. Mr. Lipo, when I spoke to him in the summer about helping you with that tutoring, was absolutely did do it on our vacation, his vacation, and that's what we do. We go above and beyond, so we try to do everything we can. Again, the program for the middle school has been successful the last few years. We've decided at the end of the summer here we probably should expand it, but I do think that some of the heat was a factor too, unfortunately. But even though those rooms are, I think, a little cooler, which brings me to the air conditioning, and you may not be aware of this, but we have done the feasibility study. We have everything set, and last week we actually went out to bid for the entire district with air conditioning. So it's all been done. Unfortunately, with the public bid, what day was that? What day was that? 10th? August 10th, maybe? Not one contractor showed up to bid the project. So if anybody just walked in there and handed the bid in, they would have been awarded the project. We couldn't get one individual. So Mr. Palladino, we worked with the architect to put out a, we're doing what they call sub-prime now. We want to do prime where we're working with one contractor. We feel that that's probably our best bet, but unfortunately we think that because of the issues with, I guess I'll take responsibility for the timeline. I made the timeline very aggressive. I said that I wanted by next school year to feel some air conditioning in these rooms. We can't go another year. I think some of the contractors got a little scared by that. So what we decided to do now is go back out, and I think that bid's in a couple of weeks, if I'm not mistaken. Mid-September. Right before the board meeting, so it's the second week in September. So I say that in public for all those people that want to bid. And what we did was we're allowing bidders now, if any of you have an air conditioning company, we're allowing bidders to bid on separate projects. So hopefully it's subprime, which doesn't help our construction manager. But again, maybe we can get somebody to bid on it. So 100% agree with you. That's why we put all of our, all of the monies we had from COVID, we put into that. We did the feasibility study. We had the plans. It took us maybe a half a year to do plans of all the layouts. We actually had bidders walk the sites, and then nobody put in a bid. So we were very disappointed about that. I was very taken aback that I thought we didn't have the right date, but I mean, nobody wanted to bid on it. So we have to go back to the drawing board, but you're 100% right about that. As for the busing, unfortunately, you are under the mileage right now. I'll look at it again because of what you're saying about the Nutley piece, which is interesting. But just so everybody knows, the board has talked about it often here. I think Ms. Jocko, I can mention her name, brought it up often. And the board policy committee met a few months ago, and Mr. Palladino, Ms. Guardabosco, and myself, we had an idea that we pitched to the board. And what we are doing is in certain areas of the township where there is, well, right now we only have a high school bus, so maybe we could look into that area too. But we're going to make a second satellite run. After the first bus routes are completed and all the students are dropped off, we're going to have another bus go back towards the Silver Lake section of town, which is the farthest section for high school, to pick up anyone else who is close to that area and running a little late. So I could probably look into maybe something there as well. So just give me a few days to kind of figure it out, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tomko. Mr. Ruben Rodriguez.
Jeff Parapato. There we go. We're having a problem with the microphone, Jeffrey. Thank you. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Exactly what I'm talking about.
What I do? Okay, thank you.
He didn't push the button. Oh, okay. We're good. Thank you,
MVP.
Jeff.
I'm going to speak fast because I wasn't here last month and I missed a lot. My daughter was busy winning national championship with her salsa team at a dance competition. Real quick, I just, because of this morning's announcement, I was wondering if any teachers that had left the district because of the vaccine mandate, if they were going to be, I don't know if there was any, but if they were going to be offered their jobs back with tenure. That's one question. Second, when we had the forum about the sex ed classes, Dr. Tomko, you mentioned there were studies that show these classes would reduce sexual violence. I was wondering if you had any of these studies, and also if you had any of the statistics of how much sexual abuse has happened in Belleville in the last 5 years. I asked that at the forum as well. And then in regard to the new curriculum you guys passed last month, I noticed a lot of strange things on the curriculum. One being climate change and really weird classes, and not so much in science classes where you would expect them. There's in orchestra, in middle school orchestra, there's discussions about climate change, and I'm wondering what playing a fiddle has to do with climate change. Also in Spanish, there's climate change questions in regards to Spanish class, and I don't know if we're teaching them science in Spanish class or we're teaching them Spanish in Spanish class, because what struck me as weird is that it's not in the Italian class. So if it was in your Spanish class, I don't understand why it's not in Italian class. It's maybe Spanish, climate change affects Spanish-speaking people more than Italians? I don't know. And then finally, I was also had a question. It was just, I was just drilling down on the curriculum. And one of the things I had asked a while ago is we teach, when you brought up SEL, was that like a pseudonym or another term for CRT, which I know I asked you that, and I was told that CRT is a college-based class, that we don't teach these things in our school. But then overlooking some 9th grade social studies, I noticed some things that were questionable, especially about privilege and equity, and based on gender and social and monetary. And like what I want to ask is, my father was born in Bonito. He came here when he was 17, moved to Harlem, met an Irish girl. Her parents moved her out of Harlem to get him away from my father. Father took a train every day up to the Bronx to meet her. They fell in love. They got married. They moved into Harlem. He worked 2 jobs for 5 years, bought a business, had a business for over 20 years, sent my brother and sister to college. Manhattan Mall opened up, wiped my father's business out. Money kind of ran out. I worked my way through college as far as I can, paid for it all myself, paid off all my loans. I've been working on my own for years. I met my wife. She's Italian and Irish. I ended up with a couple kids that are 1/4 Puerto Rican, half Irish, 1/4 Italian. They have a little Welsh mixed in. And basically what I'm asking is, when she's in 9th grade and she's taught about privilege, if you could explain your definition of privilege in that social studies, I think it's 9.124 or whatever the thing is. I was just wondering if you can define that with an actual definition, because I remember when we talked about the sex ed standards, I said a lot of the things you're going to be teaching is subjective. And if we're unable to teach math and science really efficiently, then how are we going to teach things that's dependent on the person's teaching it definition if we don't have an actual definition? So that's all I was really curious about as far as the curriculum, and also just the weird places for climate change, like orchestra. I mean, that's just really weird. But other than that, thank you very much. And by the way, I think you all look very nice, okay? I think you're dressed fine. Have a great night.
Can I answer some of that?
Thank you. I ironed my shirt myself. Dr. Tonko?
Yeah. So I think, okay. So you know, it takes years to kind of understand how to write curriculum or present it, right? But as a parent, when you look at it, it's kind of black and white, right? So I think you have to understand the climate change piece and all that other stuff that was kind of put in to discuss some of the things that have been happening or over, you know, the course of different shifts in, you know, weather and stuff is definitely a science issue. But all of our crosswalks, which are core curriculum things that basically we say that things can cross over into other areas. All those things have to be included in every area and every elective. So I don't remember exactly what the orchestra piece was, but I do recall that it's in there somewhere. So I would have to look at the actual lessons. If you're actually looking at the lessons for Spanish versus Italian, the sample lesson may be written by one of the Spanish teachers, but not written by an Italian teacher. you're not going to get all of the lessons there. That's why I said at the forum, we have to communicate, because we can't give you every lesson. It's only going to be sample lessons. We review the lessons weekly to see what's happening, and a lot of those lessons include current events and things that are happening, especially in history, right? Like, you know, some of the current events that are occurring with, you know, the conflict over in Europe and stuff like that. So some of those aren't black and white answers with regard to curriculum, and curriculum is constantly evolving, constantly living, a living document. So, but I will say the CRT thing is interesting, because there's only been 2 people so far since I've been here that have mentioned that. You're number 2 now, and one other woman didn't get up, but she talked to me and yelled at me in the hallway. But I think what I did say was CRT was a genesis or a birth from a college course. That's where it started. And basically, unfortunately, I still don't think that it's coined the right way with the term race in there. But it really talks about systems and systematic change or systematic things that occur. So, for example, if you want to talk about, you know, I don't know, well, I guess the big one was law enforcement, right? That was like the whole defund the police and stuff. Like that's a system, or how people are treated by a system. How schools treat, the entire school system maybe treats, you know, individuals at a certain time. That's what that theory is. And I think, unfortunately, as people brought it up over the past political environment, I think it's easy to kind of make that synonymous with, you know, different you know, prejudicial issues and different things like that. But CRT is based on a system. It's not based on one particular classroom, one particular person, one particular moral, ethical, or legal consideration. It's basically a whole system of things. So if you want to look at like a school system, like the Belleville Board of Education, and how it treats certain things, that would be a CRT issue. So that's just to kind of clarify that. But equity and access, that you talked about, is 100% relevant. And it was relevant when your father was your father, and when you were growing up working, like I did, you know, working 3 jobs, put myself through school, and still having a ton of loans, all those things, right? Growing up with parents that had to work 2 jobs. The equity and access is very important. You can have conversations about anything from healthcare all the way, right? I am so grateful that this board provides healthcare for my family, or I would never be able to afford it, because I saw both my parents who didn't have healthcare pay over $1,000 a month for healthcare, right? So there's equity and access. So those things are relevant, and those are things that you talk about. I'm not trying to make it a political issue. I'm just talking about a real issue. Like when we talked about some of the things in that comprehensive health curriculum that I don't agree with either, but I'd rather talk about acceptance, right? Regardless of, I may not like you for what you are or what you do, but I have to accept you because it's your choice. Just like it's my choice, my daughters have their own choice. No man's going to tell my daughter what to do. It's not happening, right? So those are my morals and my values. So I think some of those things are very, you got to be very careful here. Not you, our teachers do. They're nervous too because there's a spotlight on it. So I think that communication is very important, and conversations like this are important. I don't have any data on Belleville kids being abused. I will never have that data. It's not that direct, but I can get you some of the studies that I've read. So I forgot to do that, but I definitely will. So, and we can have another conversation about this if you want, moving forward. So. Oh, okay. So systematically, all the teachers that were unvaccinated, no matter what district they were in, had to be unvaccinated. But if there was a teacher who said to me, I left because I didn't want to take a test anymore, I'd like to come back, I would definitely consider that. I mean, no one left on bad terms on our end. You know, there's always people that think the grass is greener, they get more money, that's fine. But anyone who comes back and says, they lifted it, I want to come back now, absolutely would look into that. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I really didn't think about that until you said it. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion to close public participation?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Nope.
We're moving on to items and remarks and committee reports by board members. Mr. Velez?
Thank you, Mr. President. Starting off with the Athletics Committee, we had a meeting last week, and we spoke a lot about the recreational facility, indoor training facility, I should say, and progress is really being made. over the last few weeks and months, really the whole space has been transformed, and very soon, within the next coming months, we'll all be able to see this new space really come to fruition. I'm really proud of all the work that Dr. Tomko, the board, and all of our staff and experts have done in making this a space that's truly communal and truly representative of the change in our district. Moving forward, for the operations committee, again, that kind of ties in with the operational proceedings, because recreation, indoor athletic facilities is a part of operations. So that's sort of tied in, but also we already spoke about this early in the meeting. The middle school progress with the acquisition of the college has been complete, and everything is going really well, and that's going to be something that we're all going to be looking at very soon with a lot of pride, because we really made some strides in terms of the physical aspect of our school district. And just to finish, you know, it's crazy, summer is almost over, and it really did go really fast, but I'm really excited for the upcoming school year. I think this is really going to be the first school year where we're really not chained to some measures that were implemented during the pandemic, and this could be definitely a year where we see a lot of growth and a lot of potential really unlocked, because you know, our students, our staff, everyone is back 100%, no restrictions. We're 100% power, you know, fully leveled up. So I can't wait to see that. And I just want to wish everybody a great evening, and thank everybody for coming out to the meeting tonight. Have a great day.
Thank you, Trustee Velez. Trustee Jocko?
Thank you, President Lewis. Muniz. I wanted to shed light on Dr. Tomko's performance as a superintendent in our school district, because I've been through several superintendents when I attended Belleville Public Schools, when my sister attended Belleville Public Schools, when my brother attended Belleville Public Schools, and also my son. And I know that he is an innovator, he is a leader, he is a wealth of knowledge. And his leadership has allowed our school district to have everything we currently have that I dreamt of many times as a parent of a 5-year-old. I know that I wanted a superintendent that, regardless of his personal opinion of me, would return my call or my email. And we finally have that. I'm still waiting for Dr. Feldman's reply to an email. That's how bad it was at times. You know, as a PTA parent, sometimes you had people that were your friends, and sometimes you didn't. And that happens in every aspect of our life, whether we're in school, whether we're at work, etc. But I think that if we want to be productive, we put aside our differences and truly move forward. So if Dr. Tomko, for some unforeseen reason, does not return a call or an email, I know it's a slight delay, which is not intentional. It is because he's either doing his homework to make sure that he services our community better, or because he is, as he mentioned earlier, perhaps a BCC. So it wasn't addressed to him. So I like to make sure that our school community of parents, I also do make posts on Facebook, and I advertise Dr. Tomko's email as much as I can. Sometimes it feels like I get paid to advertise his email, because I tell parents to email him constantly, because at that way you have some sort of paper trail where you can't say that, you know, you didn't ask a question or perhaps you didn't get an answer. That way, I think it's a safe way for your question to be addressed and for you to even have it just in case you forget it, because we go through a lot of things as parents, our daily, you know, work, etc. So we have something where we can click and see it again just in case we forget. I know sometimes, you know, with everything in our day to day, we might forget. So I wanted to take the time to mention that. As far as the Personnel Committee goes, we had a meeting this week. I want to welcome those that are new to our district, and I thank you for choosing our district, and I look forward to your wealth of knowledge to our students and everything that I think as teachers, educators, administrators, you sign up for to do great things for our kids. To those that have left us, and I'm sorry to perhaps lose someone, I know that we have issues with salaries because other school districts pay different salaries, etc. Whatever the case may be, to each his own, and we wish them, I know I do, the best in whatever endeavors they've chosen or paths they've chosen. I want to also take the time to thank the board for the moment of silence they had for my sister Jessica Jocko, who was alumni of the Belleville Public Schools. It is painful, very painful, to lose a person who is young, full of life, and who I thought would be a great, who is a great product of our school districts, just like a lot of our students are, because I interact with many students through my siblings and through my son and my niece. And I've seen our students expand their horizons in our school district. And I'm very proud of all that they achieve, all their hard work, and I thank the teachers and administrators all the time for all their efforts that they do. I also would like, I know that we now have a student relations position where we deal with alumni relations. It was something that I know I was one of the trustees who had spoken about it, and it's important because I feel that we can have our own alumni be those role models that our students need. It could be a place where I had asked on the website, an alumni can click and can connect with a a current student, or vice versa, an alumni with a current student, and they can interact. Perhaps an alumni is flourishing in anything dealing with perhaps construction, and a current student wants to go into that field. So it would be great to expand and actually be able to network and actually see all the good that our alumni are doing. Because right now, a lot of people speak about test scores, and they are important, but sometimes you don't work in your degree and you change your path in life to a different field of work. So this would help our school district know all the good that it's done for our students and all the good that our alumni can do along with our students. I look forward to that expansion and looking into that in the next 5 years, 2 to 5 years, to see how far along we go with that, because it's important for our students to always network so they can also succeed. And I wanted to also take the time to invite the community tomorrow to the Ecuador flag raising here in Belleville. We have, although I'm up here, I also wear different hats in the community, and one of them is co-founding the Belleville Ecuadorian Civic Association along with my sister Jessica, and I wanted to continue the tradition that we've had for over 7 years. And it's important that we live in a town, in a place where there is diversity. It's out there, and it's just important that we nourish and respect all the cultures where we all come from. As Mr. Rodriguez was mentioning, it's important that we embrace others and we do keep that empathy going, because it's important to make sure that we are productive in our community. It's at Belleville City Hall from 1 to 3 p.m. We'll have cultural dances, and I look forward to seeing the community, and I look forward to the school year starting in September and seeing our students back and making sure that they have a great year. And I also give a warm welcome to the teachers as they're coming back in September and starting to come in. And thank you in advance for everything you do for our children, and I look forward to a great school year. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Tunis.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I hope everyone is enjoying their summer. I know it's a small turnout here, but it's nice to see some of our faculty members there. I see our board trustee candidates out there as well. Thank you for coming out. As we get ready to prepare for the Belleville Township 22-23 school year, I'd like to wish all our students and our new students that are registering into our district good luck. Mr. Acosta, thank you for your presentation. Everyone here and at home, enjoy the rest of your summer. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Tunis. Trustee Dattis.
Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone's having a great summer thus far. It's flying by. As far as our finance committee, we went over monthly financials. We reviewed all the bills, policy. We have some up and coming policies that we had some discussions about. So that wraps up as far as our committees go. I want to remind everybody, all the students, to do their summer work, because the new year is approaching quickly and my kids aren't even done with it yet. So I'm a little nervous about getting that done. So all the students, just remember to do all your work, and everyone have a great night, and we'll see you next month. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Williams.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Mr. Acosta, for sharing the presentation. As stated, many factors go into the data, and we should consider that when supporting students and staff. I'm happy to see the district is no longer requiring testing. As always, we should be mindful of our health and use discretion when sending students to school and staff reporting to work. Regarding curriculum, the new standards, and the implementations, it is always the intent that no student, staff, or family should ever feel cast down or excluded as we continue to go through the curriculum. If that should ever occur, please reach out. Next, I'm looking forward to the former programs that the district will reintroduce and the new programs that will begin in September. Lastly, I'm looking forward to our community cookout on the 24th. Please come out and enjoy the festivities. Please enjoy these last few weeks of summer and have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice President Benavini.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Hope we're having a good summer. 2 more weeks left. Just wanted to remind you there are 2 more weeks of the summer concert and summer movie series. Everyone, I sat in on the committees, and all of the reports were fantastic tonight. Summer is going fast. I echo the fact that we are waiting to get back to school, waiting to see the students, waiting to see the new teachers and the returning teachers. Green Fair is coming back on September 17th, a collaboration between the Township of Belleville and the school district. I want to thank Diane Kelleher for sitting with us as we're trying to coordinate this very large event. It was a huge success last year. This is the second year. It will be held here on the high school grounds, and we'll have environmental exhibitors, activities, shows, and giveaways. So please clear your schedule September 17th, 11 to 2 o'clock, and come and learn some things about the environment and sustainability. That's it for me tonight. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you very much for your reports and your statements. I just want to take a minute and just thank our maintenance and custodial staff. The buildings, our grounds, they're looking amazing. It's funny, I just walked in today and I'm like, you know, these floors are so shiny. Like, we don't think about how much goes into, you know, opening on day one. So I want to thank our teachers, and especially for their patience, especially with us getting ready for our votes when it comes to curriculum, and the fact that you've had to wait for some certain things so that you can prepare. So I apologize, and I thank you for your patience and your dedication. You know, I just wanted to kind of echo a little bit of what Dr. Tomko said before. You know, we are very excited about where our district is moving in direction, the path that we're in right now. We've done so many amazing things over the last few years, and you know, so many amazing things still to come. But you know, I echo his sentiment, and I know we all do when it comes to us being able to provide our kids with the best possible things that we could provide them. You know, one of the things that I heard early on was, you know, we're always promised certain things, but you know, the year comes and goes and we still don't get it. And I think it's pretty amazing that within this year and last year, a lot of kids have been, you know, either saying, Mr. Muniz or Jacob's dad or Adrian's dad, you know, why do you guys wait until I'm ready to leave school for you guys to do all these cool things? So I think that that is a great representation of all the positive things that we've been doing in this district. So, you know, I just wanted to take a moment and highlight those things, because I think everyone here collectively does have the same, you know, mission mindset, and that's to do the best that we could for our kids. So, you know, I tip my hat, how they say, to my fellow trustees and to our administration, Dr. Tomko, Mr. Paladino, for figuring out all of our crazy ideas and us being able to actually make this work. So you guys should all be very proud of yourselves, and I thank everyone. You know, I really do appreciate you willing to put yourself out there for our kids. With that said, I look forward to seeing our kids walking again to school. It's amazing to just kind of see them be, so I'm looking forward to that. Till then, have a great summer, and can I have a motion to close, to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?